Welcome to Chapter 3, Section 1, Transforming Non-Parent Functions. So Advanced Algebra 2 students, this is for you. This is required. Make sure you do it. So this is where we're already given a function, and then we have to provide the transformations of it. So it takes a little bit more work. We do have to think harder, and you will see more of these than anything else. So first, we need to write a function that transforms f of x up 3 units. Okay, let's do that first, one thing at a time. Up 3 units. So if we have this function and we're moving it up 3, that is a vertical change. So we need to rewrite the whole thing, put it in parentheses, and add 3 because the plus 3 at the end moves it up 3. Now, because we didn't have to distribute anything, we can get rid of these parentheses and just combine like terms. So we end up with x minus 6 squared plus 5, right? We can't do anything else. You cannot combine what's outside with what's inside, so we just add 2 and 3. It's followed by a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. So we have to take this whole thing and stretch it by 2, which means we put the whole thing in parentheses. So let's write the whole thing out again. So we have x minus 6 squared plus 5, right? That's what we had before. We're putting it in parentheses and multiplying it by 2 because the vertical stretch goes out front, which means we have to apply it to everything on the outside. Now, just like when we had absolute value functions, if you take this 2, you don't distribute into the parentheses, you just put it in front. So so we take the 2, we put it in front of the x minus 6 squared, so we have 2 x minus 6 squared, but you do have to multiply it by 5. So 2 times 5 is 10, so plus 10. Okay, that's what it should look like. Do not distribute the 2 into the parentheses. It does not work that way. You would have to double distribute first, and we're just not talking about that yet, so don't worry about it. Don't do it. Followed by a reflection of the x-axis. So let's go ahead and do that one. Okay, reflection of the x-axis, that's outside because it's a vertical change, so we need to take the entire equation and multiply it by a negative. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to write the entire equation one more time. We're taking it and multiplying it by a negative. So the same way we distributed that 2 is how we're going to distribute the negative. It goes on the 2 and on the 10. So that becomes negative 2 x minus 6 squared minus 10. And that is the final answer. Let's do another one, or 4 more. 5. All right. Vertically stretches by a factor of 2. Okay, vertical stretch by a factor of 2 goes outside, which means the entire thing has to go right. We are writing that down first. X minus 6 squared plus 2. The vertical stretch goes on the outside, so the whole thing is multiplied by 2, which means that we have to put the 2 in front, just like on the last one, right? No change. We're not distributing the 2 into that parentheses. We're just putting it in front, so we get 2 x minus 6 squared plus 4. Then we have a transformation up 3 units. Well, the up 3 just goes at the end. So we write the whole thing again, because we're moving the whole thing up 3. So we get 2 x minus 6 squared plus 4, and we're moving it up 3. Now, because it's up 3, it goes at the end. Well, there's nothing to distribute in front, so we can just get rid of these parentheses and combine like terms. The like terms are 4 and 3, which makes 7. So the answer is 2 x minus 6 squared plus 7. Now this shows how the order matters, okay? It's actually the same set of instructions flipped. We're moving it up 3 after stretching it, whereas in example 1, we moved it up 3 and then stretched it. And you can see that's a big difference in the answer. So make sure you pay attention to the order in which it gives it to you. So first, let's move this to the left 2 units. Well, if it's to the left 2, we need to make an inside, because it goes inside. So we write the equation exactly the way we see it, but instead of x, we put parentheses. Okay, that's what that should look like. There's already parentheses, I know, but you're going to put an extra set of parentheses where you saw the x. Because it's to the left 2, it's going to be x plus 2. So let's go ahead and do x plus 2. All right, now, there's nothing to distribute there, so we can get rid of the parentheses and then combine like terms, because you're never going to leave something like that in the problem, right? Because we have this 2 and negative 6, so we get x minus 4 squared plus 2, followed by a reflection in the y-axis. Now this one's interesting. The y-axis goes inside for x, so we get We're putting parentheses instead of x, so we have parentheses, and then the rest of it. Right, everything stays the same except the x becomes parentheses. And the reflection on the y-axis is a negative x. Okay, now again, that doesn't distribute anything, so we get negative x minus 4 squared. That's the answer. 2 more. Now we're going to do the reflection over the y-axis first. So because it's a reflection over the y-axis, just like in the last problem, we have whatever was there, but parentheses instead of x. Right, exactly the same, but parentheses instead of x. And we're going to stick in a negative x. Okay, so again, nothing really to distribute, but that'll affect the next part of the problem, because now we're moving to the left 2. Well, because we're moving to the left 2, we need another parentheses, so we get parentheses, and negative parentheses, negative 6 squared plus 2. All right, I know this is getting a lot of parentheses. Just notice, all I did was replace the x with a set of parentheses. That's all I did. That's it. Now we're moving it to the left 2, so it's going to be x plus 2 on the inside, right? We know that. Now there is something to distribute. We have to distribute that negative. And then we all have to combine like terms. So we get negative x minus 2 minus 6 squared plus 2. And can you skip? Can you combine multiple steps into one? Absolutely. Just make sure you do it correctly. Negative 2 and negative 6 make a negative 8. So remember, more negatives make it more negative. And that's the answer. We have a horizontal shrink by a factor of 1/2. Well, a horizontal shrink goes inside and we flip it. So we need an inside. Well, that means we're writing this equation again. So instead of x, we have parentheses, minus 6 squared plus 2. It's a horizontal shrink by a factor of 1/2, so we're taking that 1/2, we're flipping it, and we're putting it in front of x. So it becomes 2x right here. Again, nothing to distribute, so nothing to do with those parentheses. We don't need them. Then we're moving to the right 4 units. So we're taking all of this and moving it to the right 4, which means we have to write it again. So we have parentheses, 2. Instead of x, we put more parentheses. Squared plus 2. Yes, I didn't say the minus 6. We're moving to the right 4, so that'll be x minus 4, because remember, inside we do the inverse. And then here again is an example where we have to distribute. We have to distribute that, right? There's something in front of the parentheses, so we cannot just erase them like we did in that last part. So we get 2x minus 8 minus 6 squared plus 2. Negative 8 and negative 6 is negative 14. And there's our answer. Last one. This time we're moving it to the right 4 units first. So we'll have parentheses instead of x, minus 6 squared plus 2. We're moving to the right 4, so it is x minus 4. There's nothing to distribute here, so we can get rid of those parentheses, not these. But then we do have to combine like terms, so we get x minus 10 squared plus 2. Then we have a horizontal shrink by a factor of 1/2. So we're going to put that on the inside again. Remember, we flip it, we put it in front of x, but we need an inside in order to do that. It was 1/2, so we turn it into a 2, so that's a 2x. Now again, nothing in front of the parentheses, so we don't have to distribute that. We are not distributing horizontal stretches and shrinks. We only actually distribute vertical stretches and shrinks. And that is all. Have a great day.